And welcome back, folks. Another edition of the Michigan Football Film Study focused on the defense with our man Vance Bedford. And this is a first time, a debut, a live debut with my man Vance. People have been demanding more Vance Bedford, so I thought it was good that we give you to him live.
I'm excited for the fans to jump on the show. I hope we have some great questions because I have no answers. Let's roll, baby.
So, hey man, well, first of all, let people who are maybe joining us live and haven't seen us live before, or are new to the program. We do full scale film breakdowns. I'm telling you, you don't get analysis like this anywhere, but we separate the commentary from the X's and O's, the film breakdown. That is so we can stay legal for you, the people, so we can keep bringing it to you like, right? There is no when it monetization or no sponsorship when it comes to the film study, but this right here, this is how we pay for that, right? So you can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel. Same thing with our podcast page. Like and subscribe over there. And of course, where it all goes down is over on the michiganinsider.com. $1 gets you in your first month. Once you get hooked, you subscribe or become a full paying subscriber, and you also get not only access to all the 24/7 Sports Network, but also Paramount Plus. It is great bang for your buck. But Vance, I like to say that no one does it better than my man Vance when it comes to breaking down the defense. So you struggled last week though against in the UConn game. He's like, Sam, I mean, bro.
I mean, it wasn't a game. It wasn't a lot to talk about. It was just a total take him to the woodshed. Don't come in this house crying now. You stay out there when you come to this house. I want them tears gone. That's what we saw last week.
Right. So they took care of business against UConn. But man, Maryland came in and gave them a great look. We knew going into the game, Van. So let's start there because you said, I want to see if new defensive coordinator Jesse Mentor, who you've been highly complimentary of, been very impressed with what Jesse brought to the table. You said, I want to see, can he be this aggressive and the secondary holds up? And they were able to do that against a really good test because this is one of the better receiving cores in the Big Ten, if not the country.
Well, I thought the secondary played outstanding, especially Green, number 22. They threw about 3 fades on him, deep balls, and he played it perfectly. He did a great job. Then Turner, the other corner, had an interception on a square route. So the secondary, I thought, played extremely well. And going forward, my questions about the secondary right now, I've changed my mind. I like what I've seen so far out of that back five. The young Nickelback, this is his first year playing Nickelback. Man, he has great cover skills, good ball skills, a decent blitzer. Not as big as Dax when it comes to blitzing or getting off of blocks, but he does some things really well.
So, it's one of those things, Vance, where you don't know because I understood the question. It wasn't that you didn't think they could do it, but you got to see them do it against some real guys before you can be confident that they can go out there and get it done. So clearly, Maryland came into this game, and part of the game plan was number 22 is the weak link. We gonna go. I mean, you could tell that, right, Vance? They thought they could take advantage of Javon Green in this game.
Well, they matched him up versus their tight end versus receiver. And he walked up on these guys and said, "Don't cross this line of scrimmage. I'm going to take your wristbands. I'm going to pick your pocket." He did a great job. He was fearless. He made some nice plays on the ball. To complete the balls on him, they had to be perfectly thrown to the sideline. I was really impressed with how he played. And the same thing with Turner. Both of those guys did extremely well on the corner this past week. And we talked about how fast their receivers were. I mean, we must have some jets in our secondary because they ran by nobody. I mean, it was a great game plan by them, and we did a good job for the most part executing on defense.
Yeah, man. And so I think what made the secondary play even more impressive is Vance. I mean, you talk about not knowing about the secondary after the first couple of games or a few games because of the level of opponent. You felt more encouraged by the kind of pressure that they got, but you had to temper it until you saw it against another team. Man, they came out against Maryland, and it was tough for them to get pressure on the quarterback for 2.5 quarters.
The first series, let's go. The first series, it's going to be a 3-and-out. They blitzed on third down like they always done and had a penalty. And so we ended up to keep the drive going and got a first down. But after that, our 4-man rush, we didn't have any. And the quarterback had all types of time. And then the next thing is our rush lanes were not very good. He found a way several times to squeak through there and get big yardage by running the football. And I think it was in the fourth quarter, we had 5-man pressure on a third down. He scrambles for a first down, making a first down and goal, then I'm scoring a touchdown that particular drive. Our rush lanes need to improve. And now we need to find somebody who can actually rush the passer one-on-one, which Maryland had a pretty good offensive line. They did a great job scheming us up. They went max protect. They blocked 7. They blocked 6. And they held up versus most of the things we did. Right now, we're missing our 2 defensive ends from last season.
Yeah, Vance Bedford. You've been in this game a long time, man. You're a player. You're a coach. Multiple-time defensive coordinator. You coach some of the best. And I feel like you coaches, as you get into your careers, you do this thing called coach speak. where you do this thing called coach speak, where you say things. It's like, I don't know if I really buy that. So you lose your 2 defensive ends, both of whom should have gone in the first round, and you're going to be better. Maybe they'll wind up being better in the long run and other things, Vance. But I'm looking at the pass rush, man, and I just don't.
You don't see it.
I don't see, not to that level. I believe that they're going to be better than they were for 2.5 quarters against Maryland, but I don't know that I see double-digit sacks on both sides like we saw last year.
You don't have that. You don't have those type of people that can do that. So that's why you're going to see different type of stunts and movements and pressure. When we rush 4 people, I think we might have gotten pressure maybe twice. And a lot of times we didn't have great rush lane integrity. So a lot of times the quarterback to scramble by time, throw the ball down the football field versus Ohio State or Penn State, that could be a big problem. So what we got pressure was to bring 5, to bring 6. And certain times, again, we lost good rush lanes and the quarterback's coming for a first down. So there's some things that we need to clean up. Secondly, we got to stump the front. We got to twist the defensive ends, bring them inside, bring the tackles outside. We have to confuse the offensive line. And we did that maybe once or twice, but not enough. And the next thing is, being a DB coach, I'm watching the defensive line and watching the offensive line. A lot of times the offensive line would tell you, we're finna throw the football. They're sitting light on their hands. They're sitting back. Right then and there, they should have been saying, hey, we got a guy sitting bird. We got a light guy. Let's go to pass rush mode, not run mode. I didn't see those things happening. So I think experience, as we get further into the season, we do a better job of recognizing and run pass by the D-line and hopefully get a better pass rush. Right now, you're right. I'm concerned about our front 4 and the pass rush.
Yeah, I think, physically, as far as how stout they are, I feel when they say they could, this could be a better defense overall, I could see with the size they have up front across the board now, I could see as we get deeper into the season, them being a stouter front. I don't know that I see them having an individual guy that can get after the quarterback on the level that we saw last year. But hey, if you can figure out pressure in different ways, and this is what Mentor said coming into the season, in the offseason, he wasn't giving you coach speak. He was like, hey, man, we might have to get pressure in different ways as opposed to it just coming from one guy. So that gets to my question. They did start getting pressure late in the third and into the fourth quarter, Vance. What did you see change? Were guys just getting off blocks better, just beating guys one-on-one? Or did he dial up the pressure a little bit more in the second or later in the game?
I saw a great adjustment at halftime. The first half, the run game, pressure in the pass game, it wasn't there. Maryland, think about it. The first drive, they scored 3 points. The next drive, they scored touchdown. So the first 3 drives, they scored. I mean, we did not really stop them at all. So I think at halftime, they went in there, so we got to make some adjustments. We've got to do certain things. So Maryland gave us a lot of formations. They gave us formation to the boundary. That's passing strength to the boundary. They motioned a lot. Then they motioned a 2-back set. So we had a lot of things to adjust to. So I think he settled the guys down. So we're going to have a few calls. And this is what we're going to do. And that's what we saw in the second half. His adjustment game plan. You saw a nickel coming. You saw the cornerback coming. You saw a little bit more man. We got more pressure because of it. So I thought at halftime he made some great adjustments. And you saw us execute a little bit better. And we made more plays. But
Yeah,
again, the pass rush out of 4 guys, I just don't see it right now.
yeah, man. You say you always talk about disguise, and most of the time when you talk about it, you talk about disguise in the secondary disguise or disguise pressures. Part of it to me is part of your disguise is when you aren't coming right. And I thought we saw that a little bit deeper in the game too. After he brought pressure, he would show it and back out of it. It felt like that kind of kept him off balance a little bit too, at times anyway.
At times, but the thing you didn't see a lot of, we saw in the first 3 ball games, was the backers lining up in the gap. And the reason you didn't see that, all the motions, all the formations. When you give a lot of formation to the boundary, a lot of times you have to show your hands. So they had 2 fast receivers to the boundary, 2 tight ends to the field. When the corner came over, right now it's man to man. So you know how to block everything. Okay, if the corners don't come over, then they in zone. Then you saw them motion 3 guys in the backfield. We had problems getting lined up and seeing who had what. Then you saw 2 back set for protection. So they kept giving us a lot of different formations. So it showed our hands. We had to just get lined up and play football just to make sure we had things covered. So their game plan versus Michigan's defense was an excellent game plan. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, we overcame all those issues.
yeah. And so I love your lingo, Vance. You say, hey man, I got to see if my cat better than your cat. They got some other cats to try. Jim said that the transfer Yabioki, the kid that was at Bama, and then I think it was Bama, then Houston, and UT Martin. He's going to get some more snaps. And to me, this is what he was brought in for, to be a designated rusher. I think, I sort of liken him to, if he could come in and give you what Mike Dana gave you, who's starting for the Chiefs now. They rave about what kind of fine that was. If you can get that out of him, some designated rush. I mean, he doesn't even have to be an every down guy, right? You need someone that can come in and get after the quarterback. So number 18 is number 1, and then number 8, the freshman Derek Moore, who out of all the guys, when it comes to how big he is and how explosive he is, he's the guy I'm most excited about. I know I'm excited about Iyabi too, but I think Derek Moore is their best combination of size and speed. He's just young. But
You
at
know,
this point, Vance, you need, that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for a guy or 2 who you can point to and say, okay, come in here and get after the quarterback.
you do, but the situation this past weekend, we had a lot of 3rd down and 4 and 5s. You're not putting a pass rush in the game because they're running the ball on 3rd down, 4 and 5, because they went for it a couple of times on 4th down. So that's the issue you get into. When can I put this guy in? Because then they went up tempo. When you try to switch personnel, if they got a 1st down, they went up tempo to keep them in the game, and they're going to run right at that little guy. So again, the game plan, if they had a good game plan, they kept us off balance for a half.
Yeah, well, see, you okay. So now, coach, now that's why y'all get paid the big bucks, man. See, now last year, I know you remember this, Vance. They packaged Dave Ajabo. So Dave Ajabo didn't start the Big Ten championship game. And hell, I think Jalen Harrell probably got more snaps in the Orange Bowl too, because they clearly thought that Jalen Harrell, number 32, was better in the stand-up game and against the run.
Yeah.
That Ajabo was more of a pass rush guy. Well, to your point, if you get in a situation now where a team is tempoing you, you almost gotta put the guy out there that you feel like is going to be able to play both sides of the offense the best. And I think that's what they found themselves caught up in against Maryland.
You do, but when I look at what we're doing defensively right now, we doing a lot of angle and slant. Otherwise, we bringing a corner off the edge or a nickel from the field off the edge for the front is angling. So you can play a smaller guy and protect him because of what you're doing defensively. Their scheme will protect a small guy. So it gives him a chance to drop. You don't have to worry about taking on the run because of what you're doing defensively. So I'm not as concerned about that. Okay. If they feel like they need to play him more because on 1st down you get more pass game, put him in the game. Because right now, if you're worried about, they're going up tempo, you have enough things to hide that guy and protect that guy to make him very effective right now. And right now, he's sitting on the sideline watching.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. So I looked at some of the things that Maryland did. And I said, you're going to see the same thing versus Ohio State. A lot of deep over routes. You're going to see the same thing versus Penn State. RPOs. They're going to get the linebackers to suck up. They're going to throw hot right behind them. So a lot of things outside this ball game, I'll be thinking about Ohio State and Penn State, what they're doing offensively. I saw some of those things in those situations. To be honest, we struggled a little bit.
So one thing that caught my attention, they ran a trap pass. I want to say it was in the second quarter, and they hit a big play on a
Mhm.
corner route. Right? You probably remember what I'm talking about. They came back the next series, man. So I probably exaggerated, but it felt like they ran that trap pass like 12 times. It wasn't even a 12-play drive, but you get my point. He kept running it, and so I was wondering, man, did they see something here in the game? Was this something that they planned to do, or was this something that unfolded as the game went on? And why do you think that was successful?
It was part of the game plan, but what it does, it's more of a drop back pass. But what you do, you pull a guy. So now the linebackers see pull, they thinking gap scheme play, but it ends up being a 7-man protection. So right now in that situation, the D line is playing run, the linebackers playing run. Now it clears up the middle of the football field, and that's where they had success with that. It's a great way to block somebody and slow down the pass rush because they got to play run first. Because you're getting down, and kick out, they thinking off tackle play. When in essence, it's really a drop back pass, and you're protecting the quarterback that way. You slow down the pass rush. Again, great game plan by Maryland.
Yeah, I gotta get now. So let's do that. Let's not act like they was playing some bums. Maryland. I think Maryland's gonna beat the brakes off Michigan State this week. I mean, I just don't think Michigan. Put it this way: I think the Maryland offense will beat the brakes off of Michigan State this week. I don't know what if Michigan State's gonna find something themselves offensively and take advantage of Maryland's offense, but or Maryland's defense. But I definitely think Maryland's offense is gonna have its way with Michigan State's defense. They are some legit dudes over there. Here's my question, Vance. How concerned are you coming off of this game about just Michigan overall? Because I felt like this was a great game to really find some things out. I feel a lot better about the secondary than I did heading into this game,
I
right?
do. I'm excited about the secondary right now. I think we are playing so much better at this time right now than we did last year at this time. I was really concerned about them, except for maybe Dax at the nickelback. Overall, that back five guys, as far as covering ability, doing a great job. The young nickelback, I mean, he can flat cover. He has great feet. He's quick. He's explosive. He's a quick blitzer, but he's not a great blitzer because he's undersized. The concern right now, last year I was concerned about the linebackers, if you remember.
I do. I do.
Oh, I love the way they're playing right now. I really do. I mean, they are doing a tremendous job in coverage. They're doing a tremendous job as far as reading their keys and run support. This year, I'm more concerned about our pass rush.
Mhm.
Last year, we could rush with 4 guys. We can't do that this year at this time. They are going to get better and give us better pressure. So we got to find different ways to twist the front. For example, one of your favorite calls, I call it nickel rock. In other words, the nickel backs come on, we angle into the field. Now saw a nickel rock twist. They twisted the 2 guys inside. It's great versus run, but it's also like a pick pattern and give us a good pass rush. So he's trying to come up with different ways to scheme guys to get open. So I can see his thought process as far as trying to get a pass rush by twisting the front, but we need to do a little bit more of that when we're just bringing 4 guys.
Right. Okay. So in the run game, you talked about this heading in. You look back at the Maryland tape from last year. You say, "Hey, man, they're gonna try to hit them," because the little bit of success they had last year, it was the power game, right?
Yeah.
So you knew they were going to try to bust Michigan between the tackles. Early in the game, they had some success. Now, Michigan bottled it up a little bit later, but I'm curious what you saw early. It felt like Michigan wasn't getting off blocks. There certainly were too many yards after contact. What did you see early in the game, and how did that change later in the game?
Well, they were just running inside zone. What they were doing, they were doubling guys and climbing to the linebackers. We had some issues up front with our 2 down guys inside. They were getting scooped. In other words, they get, for example, a center and a guard. They'll take a nose and double him, and now the guard would slip off to the linebacker because he'll knock the nose inside so the center can overtake him. So early on, we were getting knocked off the ball, and they were climbing onto our linebackers. Now, linebackers trying to get off a 325-pound offensive lineman. He had no chance. And so they had success early on in the first half, but in the second half, we came back. He started moving the front, doing different things, so they had less success on us. And especially on 3rd down and short, he went to bear. In other words, he covered up everybody up front. He'll push the blitzer linebacker. And we had a couple of great 3rd and 1 stops because of what he was doing. But early in the game now, we could not get off a block. They were climbing to our second level. And arm tackles against this big back, he ran through us. I mean, the first couple of plays, I'm like, we could be in trouble. But like any offensive guy, they have no patience. Guess what he wanted to do? He wanted to throw that rock. If I was him, I'd have run that football 50 times. I'm going to run it right down the football field until they can stop me. But no, typical offensive guy, no patience at all. As corner, my man Green pressing. I got my big tight end who's 6'4" out there. I want to throw a jump ball and win. So now second down to 10. He just lost. I mean, but I just call that grit. If you go down to Vegas right now, my man, he's rolling dice. He said, I know I'm going to throw a 7. Guess what he was doing? They call him craps. He crapped out. Not very smart. Not very smart. Not at all. I'd have ran that football all day long.
All right. So one thing that you pointed out a moment ago, you talked about communication. You were pointing that out during the game. You look at the last touchdown drive that Maryland had, right? So it was a 4th and 1. The conversion was made, Vance, before the snap of the ball. I mean, you can see
Yes.
that Michigan's cover guys didn't get lined up
They didn't get
before
a
the snap.
call. They did not get. It was like they were all like this. Their hands up. It's 4th down and 1. Everybody should be up in a press situation, but instead they played off. And so it's just like throwing a screen. And Buck throw it to them right now, 1st down. Then the very next play, they come back, V-bone. They got a reverse wishbone, and they ran the outside flood versus the corner blitz. And my young Nickelback, eyes in the backfield, bad eyes, same kid on 4th and 1 was playing off. They threw a corner route, went down into the red zone. So it's like 2 or 3 plays back to back. Then they scored a touchdown on us.
Oh, and a touchdown, another one where not everyone got the call. I mean, you
know.
saw a tight end running right down the middle of the field. Now,
Right, but you know what? They had the call, but it was a backside safety. I call it cover 62. In other words, they're playing half field to the field, and to the boundary they're playing quarters. So they're in a 3-by-1 formation. 3 guys to the field, 1 guy to the boundary. The boundary safety should have been looking at number 3 to the middle of the field, which he did early on in the game. He didn't. He's looking at the back in the backfield. They throw it to the tight end. He's wide open for a touchdown. That was a busted coverage. Bad eyes. So in that whole drive, there were a lot of mistakes. Bad eyes by the Nickelback twice, bad eyes by the safety, and a couple of times late calls getting in. So they go right down the field and score a touchdown.
well, on that play, I know that there were some guys that were confused about the call. So I don't know if that was what happened with the DB in question, but it all makes the same point that tempo in this game sort of exposed one thing that they need to work on. Remember last year, tempo against Michigan State said we can't sub when they sub, right? They learned that lesson. I think coming out of this game, what tempo exposed is okay, communication.
Yeah.
You know, calls, making sure that's a crisp process, because it didn't cost them, a game this time around, but against a team like Ohio State, could be a Penn State, could be a much different story.
But guess who covered us last at Dax? He would calm everybody down. This year, he's not out there. So there's some other guys have to step up. I think overall as a group, they are playing better right now. Mm-hmm. As far as that leadership that you had last year, we still need certain guys to step up, to calm people down, and to take charge. And what we saw Saturday, we didn't see some of that. We saw guys panic. You also have a new coordinator. He has to get used to the tempo. He has to get used to his players, what they can and can't do. So I think it was a learning curve for everybody involved. From going forward, I don't think we're going to have those same issues anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, that was kind of, we talked about this offense with Devin and Vance. I mean, with Devin and Al. It's one of those things, man, where if you can win and have some coaching points in the process, I mean, man, and have some positives. It's not like they got lucky and won this game, right? I mean, you had some dudes out there that were really, really balling out that you can really build on it. And maybe that's what it's all about. Because, man, those dudes in the secondary, I almost think we aren't giving them enough credit because of how long they had to cover, Vance. I mean, to say that they covered well is one thing. To say that they covered well for a long time. I mean, sometimes the dude was running around in the pocket, getting out the pocket, and they got to stay with him for 5 seconds, and they were able to do that.
I'm fired up about the secondary. I thought they did a tremendous job. And again, the pass rush was not there, to be honest. And when they played man-to-man for the most part, they did a tremendous job in covering. The one big overroute we saw, I think, was in the third quarter. They were in a zone blitz. I mean, so the quarterback had time, so he's running away from coverage, and that's in Ohio State. I'm watching Ohio State play. I saw that same identical route for a big play versus Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, those are some things that we have to clean up because Ohio State is working on Michigan right now. Every single week, Ohio State will be working on Michigan. They run that route already, I saw. So you will see that route when you play them. So we got to find ways to take away certain things. Then in the red zone, okay, we play a lot of man-to-man in the red zone. We see a lot of crossing patterns down there. So we get picked for a touchdown. And we get picked for a 2-point play, playing man-to-man. So we have to find ways in communication to make calls where we can pass things off to protect ourselves. If not, we will continue to see those kind of plays in the red zone. If you're playing man-to-man and blitzing and you don't get there, you're going to probably get picked.
Well, I think one of the points you just made, one of the differences with Jesse Minter is some of the pro to college adjustment he's made. He was coaching at Vanderbilt last year. So, there was an acclimation period for Mike McDonald. That's why when you see him trying to sub against Michigan State, right, that's why he was like, okay, this is a pro guy, right? For Jesse Minter, I think it's more what you said. It's more figuring out his personnel and what they can do. So it stands out to me, to get back to something we said earlier. Jim came in the press conference this week and said Iyabi Oki is going to play more snaps. I think what they're saying, first of all, he's been on campus for a few weeks now, probably more familiar with the scheme. And now, okay, we've tried some guys in different roles. Let's try some other guys in those roles to see if they can rise up. That's one of the big takeaways coming out of this game moving forward. If you're sitting in the meeting room, Vance, and you're talking with your other coaches, what are the other things on the priority list that you got to hit this week heading into an Iowa team who, frankly, from an offensive perspective, they aren't going to be the same kind of test. I mean, this is a terrible. They're awful, fans. I know you got to take everyone. You got to give everyone some credit. This is an awful offensive team they got to play, but Michigan still needs to be able to use them to get better this week. How do they do that?
Number one is that we got to make sure we understand about formations. This is going to be a physical game. So the things we're doing right now, we execute. We must have disciplinized. We had poor eye discipline in this game last week. So we might see a few of the same plays, but get ready to tackle a big back. They're going to be conservative. They're going to play not to lose. They're going to say, well, our defense is going to shorten the field for us with turnovers, a bunch of 3 and outs. We're going to play to that. So we need to get some tackle for losses. We need to get more takeaways on defense and make them have to go 80 yards in order to beat us, and they can't do that. So we're not going to beat ourselves. We're just going to do what we do. We're going to have the corner blitz, the nickel blitz. We're going to move the front. We're going to blitz the inside backer. We're going to make them play third and long, and they don't have a great passing game. And that's how we're going to beat them.
Yeah, I'm curious. What did you think of Michigan's offense, Vance, coming out of that game?
I was excited. I think right now, when I watch the offense, scheme-wise, it's better than last year's offense. I think we're doing more things. We're opening up the playbook a little bit more. We're throwing the ball more. We're playing smarter. So I like what we're doing right now. And I'm going to go back to what I said to some earlier games. I don't know how elusive or fast our receivers are. I really can't tell. We need to make sure we do some things and make sure we can get them open as far as bunch, as far as motions, if we're having problems, so we can get those guys in space more. Because when you play against Ohio State and Wisconsin, they're going to scheme you up. They're going to have better corners than what we've seen so far. So in our passing game, we have to find ways to get the right matchups, and that comes from motion, bunches, and tandem splits. So now they can't play man-to-man and presses.
So Iowa forever, they have been a very basic defense. They base cover 2 forever.
Quarter half.
Yeah. Now, yeah, quarter half. So that take me into the mind of a defensive guy. Where are my vulnerabilities? If I'm primarily a quarter half team, what am I looking out for about? And I'm saying this from the standpoint now of Michigan. What's going to be their attack plan? What's the weaknesses in that defense? They're very, very sound, and a lot of veteran guys. And this is the top defense in the country, especially when you consider the off statistically, especially when you consider the offense. They get no help from the offense, and they still out there balling out. What's the weak spot in that scheme, Vance? Where are you trying to attack if you're Michigan?
Number one, I'm going to motion to the boundary. If I'm in the middle of the field, I'm going to give a motion. I'm going to make them adjust and walk linebackers out of the box. Second, if the ball's on the hash, I'm giving formation to the boundary, see how they adjust, run me some routes that way, run the ball that way. Also, then get in formation to the boundary and motion them back to the field. I want to make these guys have to move, have to adjust, because now I'm trying to keep them from loading the box so I can run the football. Now, the next thing is they run in a defense where they stand in the front. They bring in a 3 technique and end down on the A and B gap, spill the ball outside. If that's the case, I'm running more stretch plays outside, right into the stunt. I'm trying to get outside if I possibly can, cracking the safeties and make the corners have to tackle. So I'm working outside plays. I'm motioning to the boundary, formation to the boundary, and making these guys adjust to get a line back out of the box. Now I'm going to still run the football, because right now we're running the ball. Man, it's been outstanding watching the guys run the football and knock people off the ball, because I am a Sharon Moore guy. He was with me at Louisville. He is an up-and-coming guy, could be a head coach one day. He's doing a great job.
He's throwing some little wrinkles in. They ran this one back power with the tackle pulling.
Tackle wrap, I love it.
Yeah, man. And it's like Al has seen everything. I hadn't seen that. And they were facing an odd front, and it was just something that gave them a different angle of attack, gave them some leverage on the play, and wound up being a successful play for them. Those are the kind of wrinkles that they're throwing in.
That's a tough play to defend, because you see a guard pulling, but now when a tackle pulls, a lot of times what you really got to do, the defensive end on him needs to fold back inside. If he rushes outside, well, guess what? The guard gonna block 2 guys, so you're short. So if you haven't seen that play or don't work on that play, it is a tough play to defend, because I saw it a lot in the Big 12 and also in the AAC. We call it tackle wrap. And if you don't work on it, man, one guy can block 3. And that's a tough play. So I like what they're doing. I really do.
Yeah. All right. So we got some questions for you, Vance. The people have been dying to ask Vance some questions. Right. And by the way, Vance, people still haven't got you your stakes from last year, right? You said Michigan.
Well, you know what? I know right now some of the go blue people, they don't pay up. I'm waiting for them. Hey, I like bone and ribeye. Just to let them know.
All right. This one is from Captain Banana Peel. Said, Vance, given how proven and outstanding our corners are, can we rush 5 and load the box more often?
Yes, we can. We hadn't had a problem versus the run game so far this year until this past week. So our corners did a great job playing press, bumping, running. They took the receiver out of the mix. We can load the box more. Against Iowa right now, I'm walking my 2 guys up. We're going to press these guys. I'm going to load the box. I'm blitzing off the edge. Our corners can hold up right now. So I don't think we have a problem right now versus Iowa.
All right. Here's another one, Vance. By the way, I asked Al a question, and it's like 3-minute answers, man. Vance is succinct.
Hey, it's not that complicated. 1 + 1 = 2. Some guys, they going to linear algebra. 1 + 1 parentheses -1 plus this, and that's how you get to 1. No. I'm from Texas. 1 + 1 = 2. It's that simple. That's right.
All right. Mr. Jones said, Vance, do you think we have better coverage with the DBs than we had last year?
Yes, I do. I don't think it's even close. Turner was out there last year. Green wasn't there, but so far this season, especially against Maryland, we were concerned about their speed. Those guys did a tremendous job walking up, playing bump and run coverage. And our safety did a great job disguising, moving around. Our young Nickelback now, I like him a lot. I don't necessarily think he's a great blitzer, but as far as playing man to man, he can flat cover. So overall, our back 5 right now, to this point, they're a lot better at what they're doing than what they were last year at this time.
Yeah. So 2 things. You remember DJ Turner, they sort of inserted him into the lineup about 4 or 5 games into the season, and he really came on. I thought he ended the year as Michigan's best DB. That's a challenge to Jamon Green, who had played a lot of ball, had been displaced, but he has stepped his game up in a huge way. So much so, I heard he was getting praise from your guy, the guy you coach, Charles Woodson. And
when he walked up, that's how we did it. When I was there, man, I told the guys, if you press, you have to read anything. That's your cat. You play off, you got to read 2 to 3. So my man was walking up. They kept throwing favorites. I'm like, you wasting your time. My man is flat balling. My nickname for him is hip pocket National Bank. Every time you look around, he's taking something out your pocket. You don't even know it. So they keep trying that guy if they want to. His savings account right now, he got it in CDs, and the interest rate is 18%. My man loading up for his future.
All right. So here's what I'll say. Charles was very impressed, I heard. It's like, hey, young fella, or not young fella anymore. He's senior, needs to look for the football. I'm one of those guys. I'm a keep it simple guy. I like the way he's playing. Let's not complicate it. I mean, it'd be great. It'd be great. Hey man, because you got to understand what he has come along with. For him to be a part of a secondary that struggled as mightily as they did, and then to come in out there and play like that, like he played against some real bona fide dudes. I'm not trying to change anything, man. Like, hey, keep doing what you're doing, young fella.
It's one or two things. If I was coaching, I'm the DB coach right now. I got one or few things I got to correct on him. So I'm getting ready for Ohio State. Everything I'm doing right now, who do you have to beat the last 10 years to win the conference? It's Ohio State. So if I'm walking up pressing, I want to make sure, number one, he's moving his feet and he stays on top. So when I watch him play, he wasn't moving his feet. The guy got on top of him a couple of times, but he had the speed to catch up to him and make a play. Now, is Ohio State receiver better than that receiver? Probably so. Is he faster than that receiver? Probably so. So I got to make sure I work on his feet, get on top, so now the play becomes easier. And as Wood would say, now I got in position to look back and find the ball. The guy we saw this past week, he was just better than him. He was a step behind at times, caught up, found the football. There's 3 incomplete passes on him on deep balls. But against Ohio State, who the team you got to beat every year, I don't know.
Yeah, man. And so you mentioned Nickelback and Mikey Sainristil. And one of the things they were saying, and me, like I said, I try to avoid believing the coach speak. And they were like, man, this dude, he can really, really cover, right? So and then you start hearing players say it. So when players start backing up what the coach says, you start to buy it more. But then it got to the point where he was making so many plays in practice. They were like, to your point, he may not be the blitzer or the box player that Dax was, but man-to-man cover skills, they were feeling like, okay, we're going to be able to do, from a coverage perspective, a lot of the same things with this guy that we did. That's not saying he's as good as Dax overall, but just man-to-man cover skills, they were feeling like they weren't going to have a huge drop-off there. With what you've seen through 4 games, are you feeling like that's accurate, or you still need to see more before you say, okay, I'm willing to buy that?
He's better in man-to-man than he is in zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had a couple of issues in playing zone. Dax was a solid man-to-man guy. He had size, he had length, good pressure guy. In zone, he was really good. Mm-hmm. So zone's a little bit more complicated. And man, I got that guy. Wherever he goes, I have him. In zone, I have to read 1, 2, and 3. So a couple of times in zone coverage, he struggled a little bit, but playing man-to-man, my man can flat get it. He can press, he can play off. He has all the tools. And I know he used to play wide receiver, so he can find the ball. He has good ball skills. He made a couple of nice plays when the quarterback coming around. He jumped up and knocked the ball down. He has that right now. He must improve his zone's responsibility to say, now I'm ready to take the next step. But if he just play man-to-man, he's just as good as Dax is. I really believe that.
All right, so last one for you, just from this game, and then looking ahead, as we sort of see this defense come together and sort of find its way, this team come together and find its way, I think it's important to have perspective that they're going to be growing pains. And so you've kind of talked about how, back in '97, it was a team that dominated as more and more as you went along. But there was that one hiccup in there against Iowa, right? That was a game where you guys didn't look the best. There were some people questioning, man, is this team a little bit overrated? Did we just see them beat up on some cupcakes? And it turned out that 12 games, you're going to have some games that you don't play your best. Seems like that was one of them for you guys. Maybe not saying this will be 97 over again, but maybe this was that kind of game for Michigan.
Well, anytime somebody plays Michigan in the big house, you're going to see their A game. They come into the big house, compete against Michigan on national television. you're going to see their A game. So as a team, as Michigan, they have to bring their A game every single week. And sometimes that's tough. Sometimes you say, well, I can still have my B game. And sometimes against a better team, you can get beat. And that's the thing that Michigan will have to go through. I think right now, I look at them as a team. The offense is really playing well right now. The defense, they have to grow up a little bit. You have a lot of new starters out there. You lost two really good defensive ends to the NFL. You lost a safety. So basically, you lost three guys who were first or late first round picks. You just don't replace those guys. Those guys, in my opinion, right now, you can still see them missing that leadership and the playmaking ability. But each week, what I've seen is maturity and growth. And I think playing Maryland at this point in time in the season, I think it paid dividends for us. Because now the guys can say, this is our measuring stick. These are the things you must do to continue to improve, because competition is going to get better and better each week. And what I saw in the second half, I was really excited about it. Now, I wasn't excited about that 2-minute drive when they scored a touchdown. I mean, we didn't look that great. We have guys running free, guys looking to the sideline, guys raising their hand. That was a lack of maturity at that point in time, because the backup quarterback went right down the field, they scored a touchdown and got a 2-point conversion. But I think going forward, it's a great film for them to learn from. And those mistakes we saw against Maryland, you won't see that anymore.
I got you. Well, hey, man, it's a lot to look forward to. I want you guys to look forward to the film analysis, because we already went through the telestrations. Vance was like, man, it's about time we had something to really, really break down. And it was a lot to break down in this game. So this will be the most in-depth analysis that you've seen from a film perspective thus far this year. Same was true with Al as well. So the film says, just to give you the schedule so you guys can keep up. Monday morning quarterback, that's live from 9 to 10 a.m. You can check it out here live. If you missed the replay, you can check it out on the YouTube channel over on the Michigan or over on the MichiganInsider.com. The film study with Devin will go up on Tuesdays. Meant to put it up this morning. Wasn't able to get it up this morning because Al was having computer trouble. We had to get that locked in, right? So normally Tuesday morning, I'm going to put Devin's film study up as soon as I'm off with Al today, or with Vance today. Tuesdays after the film study, we go live with Al Borges at 11 a.m. every single Tuesday. The offensive breakdown. We'll go live at 4:30 every Tuesday with Vance Bedford with the defensive breakdown. And then on Wednesdays, the film studies with Al and Vance will go up. So you have the schedule. Be sure to like and subscribe the channel. That way you'll know whenever we put the videos up. Of course, all the press conference videos, recruiting highlight film, the Recruiting Insider podcast, all of that content will continue to go up as well. You can always find us over on the MichiganInsider.com, though. That's where it really goes down with all the intel, the insight, and perspective that you want to see on Michigan football, basketball, and recruiting. Also, every site on 24/7 Sports. That's where I think, between Michigan and Texas, Vance, you got a lot to keep up with, man. So,
yes, I do. My Longhorns took it on the chin. They got to bounce back this week.
Yeah, man. So, folks, you can be sure to check us out in any of those locations. Of course, check out that film study tomorrow, and be sure to join us next time on the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the defense with Vance Bedford. We'll see you next time.
Go Blue.